You're listening to Music 101 with your host, Alexis Steele. Sponsored by Steel Notes Magazine. You can find them at the web, folks, at www.steelnotesmagazine.com.
Hi, this is Alexis Steele with Music 101. It gives me great pleasure to bring to you today Pamela DeBar.
Hi.
She is an author, a teacher, and the world's most famous groupie. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm really well, thank you very much.
That's good. How's things in sunny California?
Sunny. Yeah, very sunny. It was like 94 yesterday here in the San Fernando Valley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, way too early. We're in the middle of a drought.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that stinks. Well, actually, you're a country girl originally, aren't you? A Kentucky girl? You're a transplant, right? You weren't originally from California.
Yes, I'm originally from California. My
Oh,
parents,
you are? Okay.
Yeah, my parents are Southern. My daddy was from North Carolina. My mom was from Georgia, but they moved here, and I was born right here in Hollywood.
Oh, okay. So you're born in Hollywood.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. All right. So, let's see. So how old were you when you started hitting the club scene and getting interested in music?
Well, I was an Elvis nut as a child. I was very early on with the music. I loved it. My parents really didn't play their hi-fi that much. And it was something that happened to me just because I must have the music in me or something. But anyway, it was Elvis, then it was Dion, who I still go see perform. I have tickets for July 31st. I hope it happens in Jersey. In New Jersey. This is how far I'll fly to see my favorites.
Really? Wow.
And then I was a Beatlemaniac. So
I saw that. You and I have this in common. We both had a crush on Paul McCartney.
Sure did. Yes, I was an obsessed Paul girl. And in fact, my latest column at Please Kill Me is going to be about my Beatlemania days.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a columnist there. I write all about music all over the place, but that's where I work right now. And then, of course, I went to try to meet the Beatles because that was the name of their first album that came out in America, Meet the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, I want to do that. And I tried, but I was only 15 years old, not quite 15 actually. And my other three Beatlemaniac characters, we went to Bel Air and hid out in their backyard and the cops found us. I mean, it was very dramatic. But then I realized not too far after that the bands were playing right over the hill. I lived in San Fernando Valley, I still do. And over the hill was Hollywood. So after my first trip there, Captain Beefheart's cousin, Victor Hayden, went to my high school. And he later became part of the Magic Band. So I met Don Van Vliet, Captain Beefheart, when I was pretty young. And that was a life-altering experience. He told me I was a gas, and I had no idea what that was, but I wanted to be it for Captain Beefheart. So after that first trip over the hill, I started going over. I already had a car. I got a car for my 16th birthday, and I drove it over the hill. And all the wild people, in 1966, even 65, I started going there. I was at the riots on the Sunset Strip when they were about to close Pandora's Box. And I take people I do rock and roll tours, and I take people in a big van all over Hollywood.
Oh, really nice.
Laurel Canyon and all of that to show them those incredible moments that happened on those streets in my life. And it's all I'm with the band in my first book. So,
okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so that's how it happened. And of course, the right age, the right time, the right look, the right everything to just meet the bands. It's very easy back then.
Okay, so when did you venture out into the world of rock and roll?
Right then.
Right then? When you were 16?
Yeah, when I was 16, I started going to the Strip, hanging out with Kim Fowley and Rodney Bingenheimer. And
yes, and I want to ask you, Kim, rest his soul, he actually had two really great interviews with me. He did my Music 101 anniversary. And he was quite the character.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
saw that Kim Fowley actually took a liking to you and said that he would rather be married to you 47 years than sleep with you for 47 minutes. So I take that as a compliment from
It was
Kim.
quite a compliment. And that he said that the night I met him in front of Ben Frank's. And I met Rodney in the same place. Everybody was hanging out in the driveway of Ben Frank's coffee shop. Frank Zappa often had his bus parked there. And so anyway, yeah, I just met everyone. I was, like I said, the right age, the right everything to just become part of that scene. I started meeting all kinds of like-minded trippy hippie girls, started going to the love-ins. And I mean, so much happened. I met a guy at the love-in, Alan Davio, who later went on to be Spielberg's cinematographer, but at the time he was a young photographer and he wanted to take pictures of me. And so he took my very first flower child pictures, which I still sell when I read my books at places and
Nice.
my rock tours and everything. And he invited me to dance in a video, which wasn't even called video yet, short film for the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And I never heard of them. They were just coming over from England. Even though Jimmy was from Seattle, he started making it big in England, and they came over here. And I danced in the Foxy Lady video with them. I mean, I was a kid, you know. It was just my life was fantastic back then. It still is. I mean, I live life out loud.
Yeah, living the dream, right?
I would
Absolutely.
say
so. So you actually spent some time, or you were doing the commune life thing?
Doing what?
In the commune. You were doing like communal living?
Oh, yes, well, I would hitchhike to San Francisco and Berkeley on the weekends because I wanted to see what was going on in Haight-Ashbury. You know, I wanted to be part of the trippy hippie scene. I was actually at the very first love-in that ever happened anywhere, which was called the Human Be-In in Golden Gate Park in '66, I guess it was. You know, I mixed 65, 6, and 7, mixed them up sometimes, but it was very early. It was the first love-in. So I really enjoyed that. And I met a lot of like-minded people, of course. And, you know, we tripped around. I wasn't even smoking pot yet, but I crashed. I had a crash pad called the Carista House that I stayed at on those weekends and slept on smelly mattresses on the floor, you know.
Yeah.
So I did it all.
Yeah, awesome. So then I heard a story about you with Jim Morrison that I thought was interesting. And I was wondering if any of your association with Jim was in any part in the Doors movie. Because I know you said that you got shushed away by Pam, who is his girlfriend.
Yes, I was real high one night and I heard, you know, I was a big Doors fan already. They didn't even have a record out, but they were local in LA. So I was a big fan of theirs and I heard the record being played. I heard their very first record being played close by, and I was high enough on this weird drug that you inhaled called Trimar that was actually taken out of the hospital by a good friend of mine, the bass player in Iron Butterfly. And he found out it got you high. It was this stuff real bad. It was used for injecting women who were pregnant to numb their bodies.
Really? Wow, I never even heard of that.
Oh no, he spilled it and it got him high as he was a janitor, right? So he started smuggling it out and giving it to people and selling it on the strip for $10 a vial. But he had a crush on me, so he'd always give me a lot of it. This was the first drug I took even before smoking marijuana, and it was a clear liquid. So I thought, well, can't hurt me. So I was completely stoned the day I heard Jim's music being played, and I just went down the stairs. It was right in Laurel Canyon behind the Canyon store. And I went down a whole bunch of stairs and peeked in the door of this house. It was one of those doors, Dutch doors, the top half was open. And it was Jim himself singing along with The End in his black leather pants and no shirt. And oh boy, I was high enough. I walked in and started doing a backbend on his Persian rug, because I just learned how to do a backbend, and I thought, why not show it to Jim Morrison? That's how stoned I was. So right at that moment, Pam came home. Pam, his significant other, and said, "Get the blank out of my house." She looked down at me. I'll never forget it. I was looking up at her because I was in a back bend.
Oh my gosh.
and she sent me on my way. But he followed me. A few minutes
And
later.
so he was driving your car around all over Hollywood?
Well, that was later. But at this point, he followed me up the stairs. He wanted to know what that stuff was that I was on. And that led to us spending, the following evening together. He invited me to his gig at the Hullabaloo Club that night. And he was a one-woman man, though. I mean, he really was. So I knew him because he was a local in LA. I mean, he was a Hollywood face. And, he was an alcoholic. So he was just everywhere all the time. Now people think and of course he died so young. People think of him as this mysterious character. He wasn't that way to us, the Hollywood kids. We knew a lot about him. He was around, let's put it that way. I saw the Doors play so many times.
So he really wanted to be a poet more than a musician, right?
That's what he told me. And he said he wanted to be known for his poetry and that the rock and roll scene was a lark to him. It was just something he was doing to pass the time. He was much more interested in his poetry than rock and roll music. But then he just became a terrible alcoholic, Yeah.
So talking about Nick St. Nicholas, was he kind of like one of the loves of your life?
Yes.
You wanted to lose your virginity to him, right?
Well, I wanted to be with someone I really, truly loved. I've waited a long time. My friends, my compatriots had long given in to fourth base, but I was waiting to be in love. So I thought I was in love with Nick St. Nicholas, and he was the bass player in Steppenwolf. And he was also the most beautiful German boy with the beautiful blonde curls. And I was hoping, maybe it was the real thing. And yes, I slept with him first. And I wrote a song about him. At that point, I had met enough like-minded girls on the Strip and dancing with this character named Vito at all the rock clubs and on stage with bands and everything, that we broke off from that. Called ourselves the Laurel Canyon Ballet Company. And we're dancing with Three Dog Night and Love and these various bands, local. And Frank Zappa, one of them was working for Frank Zappa. Miss Christine was the Moon Unit's governess. And she invited us up to meet Frank. And he took such a shine to us, he thought we should become our own group. So at that point, he told us to write a bunch of songs while he and the mothers were on the road. And he would record us when he got back home. So we did. We wrote 14 songs down in the basement in the log cabin where he lived. And Tom Mix, this old cowboy movie star's old cabin. And we wrote our songs in the bowling alley down there.
Wow.
And one of them was called the Ooh Ooh Man. And that was about Nick St. Nicholas because he was a very odd guy. We're still friends to this day. But he would say very strange things. And one of the things he often said was, ooh, 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 schnit, schnit, schnit. Something to do with being German. I don't know. So I wrote that song about him.
Okay, well, you know what? We're going to actually take a listen to that song that you wrote about Nick St. Nicholas, the bass player for Steppenwolf, called I'm in Love with the Ooh Ooh Man. And we'll be right back with Pamela Navarro on Music 101.
Just
Okay, we're back with Pamela DeBar. Pamela is the world's most famous groupie. She's also an author of many books, a teacher. And how many books actually do you have out, Pamela?
5. I have
Okay.
5 books. Yeah, I wrote I'm with the Band. Then the sequel, Take Another Little Piece of My Heart, A Groupie Grows Up. Then I wrote Rock Bottom, which is stories of a lot of horrible rock deaths. That was a hard one to write, real rock tragedies, you know.
Mm.
And then I wrote Let's Spend the Night Together, about the other groupies, 25 stories of other groupies. A lot of people think I just wrote I'm with the Band because it was a huge success, but I never stopped writing. And the last one I wrote was called Let It Bleed, which is a writing memoir book, how to write your memoir, how to write a rockin' memoir is the subtitle. And I teach writing workshops all over the country and Toronto and London. And I've been doing it for 20 years, a little over 20 years. So that's what that book's about. And I'm working on 2 books right now. And I have a column, Please Kill Me. And I've done tons of journalism. I had a 5-year column at Rolling Stone, Italy.
Wow.
Where, I loved meeting these guys, still. I have a groupie heart, I love music. I love to meet and hang out with the people that make the music. So I'm very involved in that world. I love the young band, the Struts. I interviewed Luke Spiller recently for my podcast, Pamela DeBar's Pajama Party on Pantheon Podcasts. It's on every single platform you can imagine. So please listen. I just did my 25th yesterday with Rhett Miller of the Old 97s, one of my favorite singers in the world. So,
wow.
The dream goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting back to the GTOs now. Okay, so there was you, Sandra, Mercy, Christine, Sparky, Lucy, and Cinderella, correct?
Yeah, there were 7 of us to start with.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot. That's probably the biggest female band that I can think of. I don't think anybody has had that many members.
Well, we were the first.
Yeah.
Us and Fanny. There was a group called Fanny, a local group that were great too, called Fanny, and the GTOs, Girls Together Outrageously. We were not actually a band. We were a group because we didn't play instruments. We had people back us up. I remember one night at a club called The Experience, which was just the wildest club you can imagine. We got up to sing a couple of our songs, and we're backed by John Bonham on drums and Noel Redding on bass from the Jimi Hendrix Experience. So, we also opened for Alice Cooper's band and the Mothers at the Whiskey A Go Go.
Right. Well, actually, wasn't it Miss Christine was going out with then Vincent Fernier, who became Alice Cooper, and was the one that kind of put together his makeup and his clothing and stuff like that. Well, and then you girls are the ones that introduced him to Frank Zappa and made that appointment for him to come, for the band to come.
Yeah, an audition, Well, Christine did that. She was seeing Alice, and I was hanging out with Neil, the drummer. Good old
Neil, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We love Neil, my God.
Oh, yeah.
I sat on his lap a lot.
Oh, yeah. Neil's one of my buddies. Because I knew the guys from the early 70s.
Okay.
Funny thing is, Dennis Dunaway, I, have kept in contact with the most. Dennis has been in my magazine many times, many interviews. Neil's been in several interviews too. And it was a couple years ago, the last thing, I have some videos with the guys, and they were always growing up. That was like my favorite group. And so I hung out with them, and it was great.
Yeah, Dennis is my pal still, and so is Neil and Alice. I have a podcast with Alice.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
He was number 20, I think. I have 25.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So with you, when the GTOs were together, did you guys actually live in a log cabin with Frank Zappa?
Miss Christine and Cinderella and Sandra all lived in the cabin before Frank got it.
Okay.
They were living there with a whole bunch of freaks. There were flower children, there were hippies, and there were freaks. And we were all considered freaks because we were just wild girls, there was really no one like us. We started wearing vintage clothes before anyone did. You know, we were,
Yeah.
and that's when you could find them for $1, you know, a 20th
Yeah.
century dress. Oh my God. We were dressed up all the time, really sheer clothes. But anyway, no, Frank then, those people moved out and Frank took over the log cabin. So Christine lived there because she was the governess. But I spent many nights there. And then when they left that crazy place and moved up to Woodrow Wilson Drive, because Gail was pregnant with Dweezil, I soon became their nanny. I was the governess for Moon and Dweezil off and on for years. So whenever I needed a place to be, Gail would give me that job back. Mm-hmm. I was very close with the family. I still am.
Okay. So there's a story that when you, or I guess there was a concert and you were at a hotel when the Stones were playing, and that you had knocked on Mick Jagger's door and he answered the door naked, but it was always your wish, Christmas wish, to sleep with him. Did you ever get that opportunity?
What do you think? Yes, indeed. But the thing you're talking about now, that instance, was when I was very young. I was still in high school, and Beefheart took us to meet them. Captain Beefheart knew Charlie and Bill and took us to meet them. And I sat around with Charlie and Bill listening to blues and stuff for a while, but then I knew Mick Jagger was right down the road. It was the Ambassador Hotel. They all had little bungalows. So I finally got the nerve up to knock on his door, and he opened the door naked. Yeah. And I was just so freaked out. I just ran away. I wasn't ready for him yet.
No.
I met him later, of course. Miss Mercy from the GTOs knew him from San Francisco. We were seeing my favorite band, the Flying Burrito Brothers, play at a little bitty club in Topanga Canyon called the Corral, and all of the Stones arrived. The entire band showed up for the Flying Burrito Brothers, because Keith was very close with Graham Parsons. And, you know, people often ask me, how did you meet these guys? You know, how did you meet them? It was a very different time. You know, John Lennon had not been murdered. Everybody was pretty free-spirited. So he just walked up to the dance floor. Mercy and I were the only two dancing, and said, introduce me to your pretty friend. So that's how I met Mick Jagger.
Mm-hmm.
And it went on.
You were very close to Miss Mercy, right? You were pals.
Yeah, we were best pals. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
She passed away last July.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. Her book's about to come out. Very exciting.
Is it?
Yeah. Yep. Pretty exciting stuff.
Oh, very cool. All right, awesome. Okay. So there was a kind of like a funny story that I read about Mick Fleetwood had a little oops with his clothing.
Well, I don't know if that was real. You know, it was dark lighting. I went to see Cynthia Plaster in Chicago, New Year's Eve of 1969, and I did not know how cold it got there. I brought skimpy little dresses and real high heels and everything, and I froze my butt off. But we went to see Fleetwood Mac on New Year's Eve with Peter Green. That's
back when Peter Green. That was before Stevie and Lindsay.
That's the Fleetwood Mac that I really liked.
Yeah, I saw them back then too. And
it looked like to me that his balls were hanging out of his pants behind the drums. And I think he did have a slit in his pants, and that happened. But I mean, I was high, and I'm not sure. I mean, unless I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's too funny. So I know two of your admirations have been John Lennon and Bob Dylan.
Mainly Dylan, yeah. I love the Beatles. I love the Beatles, but Dylan has been my like musical god from day one. I got turned on to him by Victor Hayden, Beefheart's cousin, in high school, and everything changed. You know, I mean, I always loved rock and roll, but it was all about love and broken hearts and everything. And Dylan was singing about very important things that mattered.
Right. Sure. What was going on at that time in the 60s.
Well, just everything. I mean, just Blowing in the Wind is as important today as it was then. So I just started being in what I call a lyric whore because of him. So I started listening to lyrics. They were much more important to me than the music, although of course I love to dance. But and he affected everyone that way. He turned the Beatles on to pot. They started listening to his music. They started singing about important matters, just like the Beach Boys did. Everybody who heard Dylan, they knew they had to up their ante. And I still go see him. I had tickets for last year that, of course, I didn't get to use because of COVID. But I still go see him play whenever I can. I mean, I never miss him. And I first went in 1965.
Wow.
At the Santa Monica Civic. And I could not sit in my seat. I had to be close. And so I just got out of my seat. I was halfway back in the audience, walked all the way down front and leaned on the stage, and no one stopped me. I stayed there for the entire show. So that's the stuff I did early on. You know, nothing was going to stop me from being near these people.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that was a cool thing. And I think nowadays you could get that kind of stuff would be kind of hard. You know what I mean? People get thrown off stage, you know what I mean? With security. And
yeah, securities, obviously there was almost no security back then.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, very few people were even trying to get backstage. They didn't even think they could, you know. It wasn't like the word groupie didn't exist when I was doing these things. So that word came into being in the late 60s. And it wasn't a bad word to start with. It wasn't a negative word. People never understood that word, and it's been part of my raison d'etre to save it to the real. It's a synonym for love, period. That's what it is.
Okay. So, yeah, I understand that because in the early 70s, I hung out. Well, I'm originally from Philadelphia. We're on the East Coast. So the Spectrum, that was the big place where everybody went and hung out. And that's actually where I first met Alice Cooper. And him and Neil were the first two people that I met. And I have pictures of the limo and all that from back in the day. And that's how I became friends with them.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was a cool thing. But now, as far as, by going back to the Beatles, George Harrison, right? You had actually some time that you were hanging around George Harrison.
Well, I met him a couple of times. Originally, it was in the GTOs. I met him actually 3 times, I think. It was in the GTOs, and we were doing the centerfold for Rolling Stone. It was a very exciting day for us, and we were being photographed at A&M Records in their big sound stage there. And as we were walking through the gate, George Harrison was walking toward us, and it was like, oh my God, Beatles sighting. You know, it was so thrilling. And Cinderella, her nickname was Pumpkin Butt, and she banged into him by accident. And he said, "Who are you girls?" And because we were in full regalia, because we're about to photograph. And we said, "We are the GTOs." He said, "I've heard of you girls." And it was, oh, really? I mean, that was such a thrill.
Yeah.
And then he told me, as I was walking away, he told me, "You have pretty legs." So that was nice. He was a bit flirtatious. I also met him at Bob Dylan's 50th birthday party.
Oh, wow.
And he was flirtatious with me, but I was never with married people. I was very careful about that. And, you know, as I don't know, chuffed as I was, I couldn't do it. But I
didn't cross that bridge. You didn't,
I danced with him, and we had a lot of fun. The whole Traveling Wilburys were there. It was Bob Dylan's 50th darn birthday. And now he's about to turn 80.
Is he really?
Dylan is turning 80 in June.
Wow.
Right.
That's amazing.
He's incredible. You people, anybody listening out there who has not been turned on to Dylan, I don't care how old you are or anything, you've got to do yourself that favor in this lifetime.
So now what about Jimmy Page and Robert Plant?
What about
any association with them?
Well, you know that. You know.
Well, I want to hear you tell it.
Yes, I met that band early on, first album. I went to when I was visiting Cynthia in '69. Well, it was turning 1969. She had a picture of them on a poster of them on her wall, and I said, "Who are those guys?" And she said, "That is Led Zeppelin, band, but stay away from them because they're dangerous." She said, "Jimmy Page, especially the guitarist, has a bad reputation." So I swore that when they came to town, I was not going to go near them, right? I was notorious already. I was in the GTOs and all of that. So one night at that same wild club, The Experience, I went to see Bo Diddley, and all of Led Zeppelin were there. And Jimmy kept, staring holes at me from across the room, and I was ignoring him. I was not going to go for it. And he passed me a note through his roadie, Richard Cole, who I'm still friends with to this day. And it said, "Meet me in room whatever, 6, whatever." They always had this entire 6th floor. But I didn't do it. And he somehow got a hold of my phone number the next day and said, "Why didn't you come?" He was so elegant. He was so mysterious and amazingly, oh my God. So anyway, he invited me to his gig in Long Beach. Was it Long Beach or San Diego, I guess? And I went down there with my friend Michelle Overman, who was dating Robert Plant and had been seeing him for a while. So we were on stage with the band, and Jimmy kept looking over at me and playing for me and everything. That's all it took.
That was it.
So I became one of his main girlfriend for a little while there, a year or something. And, he sent me Christmas gifts and took me on the road to New York, to Texas, to various places, which turned me into a super groupie at that point, because I was written about all over the place because I was with Jimmy Page and he flew me places. So that was my super groupie, standing at that point. And it was quite a thing. I mean, to be with that band during that time frame and see him entrance 20,000 people from sitting atop Jimmy's amp was pretty mesmerizing and almost indescribable. It was like being in the band as much as you possibly could because you had that vantage point. It was incredible, really. Yeah.
Now I'm skipping around a little bit here, but going back to your book, I'm with the band, Confessions of a Groupie. You had Dave Navarro actually did the foreword to that, and he was very taken by you, I guess, ever since he met you. And
Dave Navarro.
Yeah, Dave Navarro.
Yeah. Yes, I met him with Don Johnson. We went to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He was in that band for a short time, and we met that way, and we hung out some.
Hung out.
Yeah, we hung out some. We became friends, and he did that opening for my most recent. That book's been published a few times. It's never been out.
Right, it's on audio. I'm talking about it's on audio book.
Yes. Well, he doesn't read it, does he? Does he read that? I read that, didn't I? For audio?
In the beginning, wasn't it for the foreword?
Yeah, he wrote the foreword.
Yeah, the foreword.
I read the foreword for Audible. Yeah. I've done all my books for Audible, by the way, if anybody wants to hear me read them.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I still hang out with musicians. This last year has been pretty rough, but at least I've been Zooming with a lot of them.
Yeah, at least we have that, right?
Yeah.
Thank God for Zoom if it wasn't for that,
Yep.
So let's see. What conquest did you not get the opportunity to do that was like, I don't know, your all-time favorite?
Well, I'll tell you two of my heroes that I was either married or with someone when I encountered them. Also, I was a little too young, too old for a couple of them. There have been a few people I feel that way about. Prince was right up there. Prince, I was just obsessed with. Springsteen, completely obsessed with, but he was with a good friend of mine at that time when I became completely obsessed with him, Julianne Phillips. He was actually married to her. And but so I actually met both of those guys, but I never got to get my hands on them. And the same with my two people I just did podcasts with, Todd Snyder, one of my favorite singer-songwriters of all time, and Rhett Miller, both. But, it was just more of a friendship thing because they're 20 years younger than me, But of course, I still have those feelings about musicians.
Right.
I will. Yeah, I always will.
Okay, cool. Right. Now, going back to the GTOs, a song that you actually sang on this, Circular Circulation. What was that about?
Well, I wish I knew. Sandra wrote it. Miss Sandra wrote it. And she said it had something to do with Bob Dylan. I don't know. She loved Dylan also. And it's just, it doesn't really mean a lot. Did to Sandra, I'm sure. But she didn't want to sing it. And I guess Frank thought my voice, out of all the girls, none of us were really great singers. We were more of a performance artist troupe, but I think my voice, I could stay in key better than the others. This was our single. Circular Circulation came out as a single. Not that it got anywhere, but yeah. So yeah, this is Circular Circulation.
Okay, well, we're going to take a listen to Circular Circulation with Pamela singing and the GTOs, and we'll be right back on Music 101.
To catch Keely-da-da-doo, but the circle would not permit it. This circular circulation, I circle continuously to prepare myself for memories and have a talk with me. Mighty burst, mighty got had to cure him of his fever. The sun came on, the cord came off, the seed became the lever. So what was one to do right there at 14 minutes after? I shook his hand, explained the plan, and set stone walls to laughter. It was at this time the power ceased, yellow darts were flying. A gentle bomb rose from the street upon which he was lying. This circular circulation, I circle continuously to prepare myself for memories and have a talk with me. Search your right, Mr. Gophop's ring, for signs on his window to let another make your dreams for the rest of you to show. Can't think for the life of me, pounds doodah Keely. More different than before the start, you cheated and pretended to. Was at this time the power ceased, yellow darts were flying. A gentle bomb rose from the street upon which he was lying. This circular circulation, I circle continuously to prepare myself for memories and have a talk with me.
Okay, we're back on Music 101 with the awesome groupie of all times, Pamela DeBar. She is a great author. She has many books behind her, and the Audible, actually, by the way, that I've been listening to. I really love Audible. I do.
Yeah,
it's so much easier than reading a book. And when you're busy, you know what I mean? It's like you can do two things at once.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know?
I listen in the car. I listen to Audible in the car all the time.
Yeah, it's awesome. So now, besides that, you said that you're doing your podcast. Now, where platform does that run on?
All of them.
Okay.
Spotify, Apple, anywhere. Just Google it. It's Pamela DeBar's Pajama Party. And I have got many, many downloads. I'm very excited about how well it's doing.
Good.
It's just me sitting around talking to musicians, basically, is what it is.
Okay, so like you're interviewing just like people that you know or whatever.
Yeah,
Just
and we're just hanging out. It's just a hangout with a very relaxed situation with musicians. And yeah, and I have my column at pleasekillme.com. Got several of them. I wrote about Altamont. A lot of this stuff, and I'm with the band, I wrote about, but in much greater detail. They're really long columns, 4,000 words. So I have a lot of those. And, you know, I teach my writing workshops all over the place. I do them on Zoom. If anyone's interested, you can reach me on Facebook or Instagram. And Pamela.
this is where you wrote the book about teaching people how to write their memoir.
Yes, and I teach class every week all over the place. I still teach them on Zoom now. I have an international group that meets on Tuesday nights, and my regular groups on my patio on Sunday, my LA girls, and I travel all over and teach these classes. I'm almost about to be able to start again. I'm teaching in Nashville in August. So yeah, yeah, let's write it out. Writing your heart, soul, and guts out is so cathartic. Whether or not you decide you want to publish it, or just share it for your family, or just have it for yourself as a remembrance, it's so powerful. So the best thing I've done, I think, of all my entire life, all the amazing things I've done, is to teach these classes, because it's so it helps people so much. It's therapeutic. I call it groupie therapy. They're all music.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, well, actually, I have a special surprise for you.
You do?
Somebody from your past, and probably present too, is joining us.
Cool.
Maybe he wants to come on now. I'm not going to actually say who it is. I think I won't say who it is and just bring him on. Let's see what happens.
Marlo! Hi, Marlo! God, you always look so great. You look
what
like
a great way to meet somebody.
You look like a rock and roll pirate. You look so good. Yeah.
Marlo is actually the star reporter for my magazine, for Steel Notes magazine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He was in the BTOs and I was in the GTOs, and we danced all over town together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you.
I know. I saw the pictures of you and Marlo together.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. How do you stay looking so fine?
Say thank you so much. You gotta stop by next time you're in New York.
Oh, I will. Yeah, it's been a while now. Jeez. Yeah, but I will.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we actually.
This is so exciting. Thank you, Alexis. Wow. She called me and asked me if I would do it. I was like, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah.
Wow, so cool.
Fun.
Yeah, we actually had a good time.
Especially now, because you can't see anybody. You can't do.
I know. Please, it's getting better, at least for America. You know, a lot of the world is struggling.
Well, I got a bunch of friends that are playing tonight for David Peel.
Oh.
And they all got their vaccine.
Yeah, me too.
So some of them are being videoed and some of them are doing it live. I still got to get my vaccine.
Oh, you better get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get it. It's got to be. You know, it's for everybody else too, not just us. You know.
Yeah, but this friend of mine said, I just got my second vaccine. I says, well, how come you have your mask on?
Oh, yeah.
He said, I still gotta wear it.
Yeah, you got to still wear it, at least for a while now, you know, just for people who aren't vaccinated. You know, you never know. It's 5%. We're 95% proof, but, you know, there is that.
It does feel like it's moving, though.
Yes, it is. Yeah. God, it's been a rough year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you and Marlo know each other from, what year was it that you told me, Marlo?
The Summer of Love.
67.
67.
Yeah, 67. Yeah.
And the first time I saw her, we were both dancing. We were dancing freaks in this nightclub on the Venice Pier, the Cheetah.
The Cheetah.
And Strawberry Alarm Clock. Jack Nicholson's first movie.
Yes.
And Strawberry Alarm Clock was playing Incense and Peppermint. It was real hippie. Then the next day I met you. The next night I met you because the band I was working for was playing at the Whiskey A Go Go with the Cream and the Birds.
Oh my God!
And I had to hang on to Ginger Baker's leg of his drums because he drummed the shit out of the drums. They said, "Hey, Rhodey, come over here and lay on the floor and hang on to this guy's drums."
Wow!
And that guy was tripping his brains out and sweating. And I was only 17, and I was like, "This is unbelievable." Then I went outside. I went outside the front of the Whiskey, and here comes out of the vapor, Miss Pamela.
Out of the vapor, I love
when
that.
I first met you. But I took a picture of you at the Psych Out movie.
And Marla, tell her what you said.
I don't
tell
remember
her what you told me.
That being filmed. Well, you got a better memory than I do. You're lucky. I don't remember that being a night of movie making at the Cheetah Club.
Well, the band I was working for was playing that night with Strawberry Alarm Clock at the Cheetah.
Yeah.
And we couldn't set up the band because they were making a movie.
Oh.
So they said, "Do you want to be in a movie?" I said, "I just got to Hollywood. I'm going to be in a movie. This is so cool." And I saw you and I took your picture. You had a patchwork granny dress on and no shoes.
I would love to see that picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a huge Birds fan. I'm sure I was on my way to the Whiskey.
No, you were and still the most gorgeous girl.
Oh, thank you.
Marlo said that they don't have
flowers in your hair and oh.
Well, thank you. I try to stay up to, you know, happiness and joy, and it's been a rough year, but I'm usually like you, I think, Marlo, optimistic. We have a certain optimism that keeps us going.
We're like really birds of a feather because we flew in the same circles for a long time.
Yeah. Flower children. I always consider myself a flower child freak. Kind of a smashed flower child freak. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Pamela, so we're going to have to wind things down a little bit here now. So I wanted to make sure that we didn't miss Marlo. I was glad that Marlo could join us to give you a surprise.
Me too. It's lovely to see him.
Yeah. So now, if anybody would like to get any of your books or
they're all on Amazon. They're all on Amazon, and I'm very reachable on Facebook and Instagram. And my website is about to relaunch. It's being redone. It's PamelaDebarOfficial.com. So yeah.
So okay, so they can find anything, your books, your podcast, if they want to get involved with your writing, your teaching.
Yeah, it'll all be on my website in about 2 weeks. But like I said, I'm reachable on the platforms, Twitter, all of them,
Okay, awesome.
I am my own everything,
Yeah, you have to be.
Yeah, I do everything myself.
Well, that's great. It's a lot of work, but it's great.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, Pamela, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Well, thanks for having me
today.
And love, Marlo. Lovely to see you.
Mm-hmm. Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye-bye,
Love you all the beautiful people.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a great night.
You're listening to Music 101 with your host, Alexis Steele. Sponsored by Steel Notes Magazine. You can find them at the web, folks, at www.steelnotesmagazine.com.